Search continues for the suspect investigators say shot and killed Atlanta rapper Trouble. The Rockdale County Sheriff's Office says he was shot and killed early Sunday morning at a Conyers apartment complex. The hip hop community is in shock as they mourn an artist who many say had a bright future.
Investigators say the rapper died in 2022 from a gunshot wound while trying to break up a fight.
Jamichael Jones pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter Friday in the death of Atlanta rapper Trouble. Jones initially faced several charges, including malice and felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm and commission of a crime.
Saturday night, June 4th. 2022. Atlanta's streets were alive with the usual weekend energy, but something felt different that night. The police presence was heavier than usual, cruisers rolling through neighborhoods, blue lights cutting through the darkness. Just after midnight, Mariel Semonte Orr, the man the world knew as Trouble, sent out what would become his final message to the world. His fingers moved across his phone screen, typing words that would haunt everyone who read them later. It's too many 12 for me tonight, I am going home. Y'all move smooth out here. 12. Street slang for police. Trouble was cautious that night, aware of the heavy law enforcement presence. For a man who had spent years navigating Atlanta's streets, this awareness wasn't paranoia. It was survival instinct. At 34 years old, Trouble had already lived several lifetimes. Born on November 4th, 1987, in Atlanta's Edgewood neighborhood, he had grown up in a world where the streets dictated the rules. But he had found his way out through music, through truth-telling, through the raw authenticity that made his voice resonate with thousands. His journey had started in 2011 with his debut mixtape December 17th. The project featured Bus In, a track that would catapult him into the consciousness of hip-hop heads across the country. Complex magazine ranked it number 23 on their list of the 25 best mixtapes of 2011. It wasn't just music, it was a statement. This was a voice that couldn't be ignored. But that Saturday night, Trouble wasn't thinking about accolades or chart positions. According to multiple sources, he had performed earlier that evening, just hours before everything would change. He was in his element, doing what he loved, connecting with his people through his music. Trouble's personal life had always been complicated. He had previously dated Alexa Sky. Their relationship had been public, filled with the kind of social media displays of affection that celebrities often share. But like many relationships in the spotlight, it had ended. By 2020, Trouble had found love again. He had posted about a woman named Nicole Mormon, a criminal defense attorney. His captions were filled with genuine emotion, gratitude for someone who accepted him for who he was. Some fans speculated they had secretly married, though Trouble never confirmed it publicly. But on that June night in 2022, Trouble wasn't with Nicole. He was visiting someone else, a woman named Rissa Royce. Lake St. James Apartments in Conyers, Georgia, sits about 25 miles east of Atlanta. It's a typical suburban apartment complex, the kind you'd find in countless American cities. Rows of units, parking lots, families trying to build quiet lives away from the chaos of the city. Rissa Royce lived in one of those units. She was recovering from a recent breakup, trying to move on from a relationship that had become toxic. Her ex-boyfriend, Jamichael Jones, had lived with her in that same apartment until about a week before that Saturday night. Their 3-year relationship had ended badly. According to reports, she had called him a bum, accused him of living off her money. The split was fresh, the wound still raw. Trouble and Rissa had connected somehow. Whether they were old friends or something more recent, the details remain unclear. What is clear is that on June 4th, 2022, Trouble decided to visit her. Jamichael Jones was 33 years old, from Atlanta. He and Trouble had never met before. According to police spokesperson Jedidiah Canty, the two men had no prior dealings, no history, no beef, but Jones knew Rissa. And even though they had broken up a week earlier, even though he had moved out of the apartment, he wasn't ready to let go. After his performance, after sending that final tweet about the police presence, Trouble made his way to Conyers. The drive from Atlanta would have taken about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on traffic. At some point in the early morning hours of June 5th, Trouble arrived at Rissa's apartment. They spent time together, talking, relaxing. Eventually, they went to bed. Trouble, exhausted from the performance, from the long night, drifted off to sleep in Rissa's bed. He had no idea that miles away, Jamichael Jones was awake, his mind churning with thoughts of his ex-girlfriend, with jealousy, with rage. At 3:20 in the morning, Rissa Royce woke up to a nightmare. Her apartment door had been forced open. The sound of splintering wood, the crash of the door slamming against the wall, jolted her from sleep. Standing in her bedroom doorway was Jamichael Jones. According to the arrest warrant later obtained by investigators, Jones had broken into the apartment in a rage. He immediately began hitting Rissa, his fists connecting with her face. She tried to scream, tried to defend herself, her hands going up to protect her head. That's when Trouble woke up. In that moment, groggy from sleep, Trouble saw a woman being beaten. He didn't hesitate. He jumped out of bed and intervened, trying to pull Jones off Rissa, trying to stop the assault. A fight erupted. Two men who had never met, locked in combat in the darkness of a bedroom. Trouble was trying to protect someone. Jones was consumed by jealousy and rage. Deputies would later find visible injuries on Rissa's face, consistent with being struck multiple times. But she wasn't the one who would pay the ultimate price. During the struggle, Jones pulled out a handgun, a .40 caliber pistol, the kind of weapon that doesn't leave much room for second chances. One shot, that's all it took. The bullet struck Trouble once in the chest. The sound of the gunshot echoed through the apartment complex, through the quiet suburban night. According to the timeline documented in the arrest warrant, Jamichael Jones was inside that apartment for just 7 minutes. 7 minutes to break in, to assault his ex-girlfriend, to shoot a man to death, and to flee. Surveillance cameras at the apartment complex captured Jones arriving in his car. 7 minutes later, they captured him leaving. A life taken in less time than it takes to watch a music video.
My biggest thing with Trouble's situation, bro, where it fucked with me, because I just know how player little bro was, bro. Yeah. Like, far as, he ain't never gotta have no pressure about no female, you know what I'm saying? And it was just one of them situations, like, people think he was dealing with a random girl. Trouble had been knowing the girl like 10, 12 years, you know what I'm saying? So she wasn't random, you know what I'm saying? So it was more like, bro, that shit just hurt a nigga like bad, G, like, shit just hurt a nigga, bro. You know what I mean? Just to see, look.
Take your time, man.
Sure, man.
Take your time.
Just.
Deputies from the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene within minutes of the 911 call. Rissa's daughter had called for help while chaos erupted around her. When the deputies entered the apartment, they found Trouble lying on the ground, a single gunshot wound to his chest. They found a spent .40 caliber shell casing. They found the front door that had been forced open, the lock broken, the frame splintered. They did not find a gun on Trouble. He never had the chance to defend himself.
Trouble got murdered. Yeah. Last month. But I didn't realize how close you guys were, and it seemed like you were really fucked up over that.
Yeah, that was my friend, bro. That was my friend, bro. That's who I go to the clubs with. That's who I talk to every other day, you know. That was a friend of me, Vlad. Like, you know, that was somebody I, you know, always smile with him. He was different. Like, this was a light-skinned boosie. This nigga here he was different, bro. Like, and you know, we made music together, but we just talk all night about real shit. Just talk all night. And that was my boy. Like, everybody know in Atlanta, that was my boy.
Trouble was rushed to Rockdale County Piedmont Hospital. Paramedics worked on him in the ambulance, trying to stop the bleeding, trying to save his life. But the damage was too severe. A .40 caliber bullet to the chest at close range doesn't leave much room for survival. At the hospital, doctors fought to save him, but some battles can't be won. Mariel Semonte Orr was pronounced dead at the scene, though some reports indicate he died shortly after arriving at the hospital. The timeline varies depending on the source, but the outcome was the same. At 34 years old, Trouble was gone. At a press conference on Sunday, Rockdale County Sheriff's Office spokesperson Jedidiah Canty addressed the media and the grieving community. What we know and what I can tell you is that Mr. Mariel Orr, which is the victim, was visiting a female friend at the complex, Canty explained. Mr. Jamichael Jones did know the female, and it was a domestic situation. Canty emphasized that Trouble and Jones had never met before. This wasn't gang-related. It wasn't a beef between rappers. It was a domestic dispute that spiraled into murder. I know there are a lot of people upset right now and brokenhearted about the situation, Canty said. Warrants were issued for Jamichael Jones on charges of felony murder, aggravated assault, home invasion, and battery. Jamichael Jones was on the run. Investigators searched locations where they believed Jones had connections, trying to track him down. They went to his mother's house in Atlanta, and that's where the breakthrough came.
Who loved and respected his family. That's how many are remembering Atlanta rapper Trouble, his real name Mariel Orr. Family, friends, and fans gathering today to say a final goodbye. Funeral services were held this morning at the House of Hope in Decatur. The rapper was shot and killed more than a week ago at a Conyers apartment. Rockdale County deputies arresting and charging Jamichael Jones with felony murder.
On Thursday, June 9th, hundreds gathered at Cone Park in southeast Atlanta's Edgewood neighborhood. They came with candles, with Trouble's music playing through speakers, with memories of a man who had given voice to their community. The vigil was a celebration of life, a collective mourning, a testament to the impact one person can have. Young and old, fans and friends, they stood together as darkness fell, their candles flickering against the night. For nearly 3 years, Jamichael Jones sat in the Rockdale County Jail. He had been denied bond, held without the possibility of release as he awaited trial. The charges against him were severe: felony murder, aggravated assault, home invasion, possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, second-degree criminal damage to property, and family violence simple battery. Jury selection was scheduled to begin on Friday, March 21st, 2025. The trial was set to start the following Monday. Trouble's family was preparing to relive the worst night of their lives, to hear the details of how their beloved Mariel had died trying to protect a woman he barely knew. But the trial never happened.
News now at 7. The man accused of killing an Atlanta rapper has taken a plea deal. Mariel Orr, known as Trouble, was shot and killed outside of an apartment complex in 2022. Jamichael Jones was charged in that case. Jury selection was supposed to start today in his trial. Instead, Jones entered a negotiated plea and pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Jones was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
On that Friday morning, Jamichael Jones, now 36 years old, entered a negotiated plea agreement. He pleaded guilty to the lesser offense of voluntary manslaughter. The prosecution agreed to drop all other charges. In exchange, Jones was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with time served counting toward his sentence. 20 years for taking a life, for breaking into someone's home and shooting an unarmed man in the chest. Some saw it as justice. Others saw it as a compromise, a pragmatic decision to avoid the uncertainty of a trial, to spare Trouble's family from reliving the trauma. But no sentence could bring Mariel Semonte Orr back. In the years since Trouble's death, his legacy has only grown. His music continues to stream, his voice still resonating with listeners who find truth in his lyrics. But beyond the music, people remember the man. They remember his charitable work in Atlanta, the food and clothes he donated to those in need. They remember how he represented Edgewood, how he never forgot his roots, how he used his platform to uplift others. His final tweet, warning about the heavy police presence, telling his followers to be careful, to move smooth out Chia, has become emblematic of who he was. Even in his last moments of communication with the world, he was thinking about others, cautioning them, trying to keep them safe. The tragedy of Trouble's death extends beyond the loss of a talented artist. It's a stark reminder of how domestic violence can spiral into murder, how jealousy and rage can destroy lives, how being in the wrong place at the wrong time can be fatal. Jamichael Jones didn't know who Trouble was. Trouble didn't know Jamichael Jones existed. They had no history, no conflict, no reason to be enemies. But in 7 minutes, in the early morning darkness of a suburban apartment, their lives collided with devastating consequences. Rissa Royce has largely remained silent since that night. The weight of survivor's guilt, the knowledge that a man died trying to protect her from her ex-boyfriend, must be a burden beyond measure. Alexis Shaley's pain is evident in her social media posts, in her refusal to be angry at Trouble for being with another woman, in her understanding that life is complicated and love doesn't always follow neat, simple paths. And Trouble's family, his mother who received the keys to a new home from her successful son, his sister Latoya, who will never be the same, his brother Marquez, who misses Mariel more than he could ever miss Trouble. They continue to grieve, to honor his memory, to ensure his legend never dies.